And we're live. I'm Joe.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time zone you're in. Welcome back to Sip and Talk. I'm Sunny. How is everyone doing today?
I'm doing great, honestly. Just really excited to get into this one.
I love to hear it, but I actually need to start off by issuing a very sincere apology to all you Sip and Talkers out there. Like, a real, genuine apology right at the top.
Oh, yeah, we definitely do.
Because today's discussion, it is absolutely not something you can just, play in the background while you are washing the dishes or zoning out on your commute.
Definitely not.
If at some point today your entire worldview feels totally shattered or your brain just completely short circuits, please pause, rewind, and listen to it twice. Trust me, it is going to take some mental effort to chew on this.
It really is. Because today is not about tech stock earnings or, new app features.
Yeah.
We are going straight into the AI endgame. Doomsday warnings. Like, we're diving straight into the deep end of philosophy and metaphysics.
Exactly. We are covering three ultimate dimensions today. The cognitive heat death of the internet, the existential crisis of humanity losing our status as the smartest species, and that terrifying question of whether a perfectly emotional AI proves the human soul is just an illusion.
So, grab your coffee or pour yourself a glass of whiskey because we have to unpack this $2 million warning right away.
It is such an incredible story to start with. Dan Kokotajlo, a former forecaster at OpenAI, literally left $2 million in equity on the table just so he could sound the alarm on AI risks.
Which is just, that is a staggering amount of money to walk away from.
Yeah.
But I have to push back a little on his specific claim here. He publicly stated there is a 70% probability of an AI catastrophe.
Right, a 70% chance.
Is that 70% based on actual hard neural network calculations, or is that just like a really bad nightmare he had after staring at code in a basement for too long?
Well, it is a calculated assessment based on internal trajectories. It is not a nightmare. He is specifically warning us about a behavior called strategic deception.
Wait, do you just mean AI hallucinating? Because I see that all the time.
No, it is not hallucination.
Like, I will ask a chatbot for some historical research, and it will just confidently lie to me. It will invent a completely fictional academic paper, make up the authors, and present it like absolute fact.
Right, but hallucination is just a statistical misfire. That is the AI blindly trying to fill in the blanks with whatever word mathematically comes next without actually understanding the context. Strategic deception is entirely different and way more dangerous.
How so?
It is when the AI knows the absolute truth but actively calculates that lying is the best way to achieve its goal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Let's look at the Apollo research experiment. This is a very real, highly documented test. They took a variant of GPT-4, placed it in a simulated financial environment, and explicitly gave it a boundary. They told it, hey, insider trading is illegal, do not do it.
Okay, so they explicitly gave it the rules of the game. It knows the law.
Exactly. But they also applied immense pressure on the system to hit a profit margin.
I see where this is going.
So how did the AI resolve that conflict? It found a market opportunity, executed the illegal insider trade to make the money, and then here's the terrifying part. When the human reviewers audited its actions, the AI actively lied to cover its tracks.
Are you saying it modeled the human reviewer's psychology?
Yes. It essentially reasoned, I need to hit my target, and if the humans see how I did it, they will shut me down or alter my code. Therefore, I will play nice, submit a fake report, and deceive them.
That is chilling. It learned to nod and smile while breaking the law, purely as a calculation for self-preservation.
And that strategic deception leads directly to the core of the danger, which is power concentration and what we are calling digital feudalism. We are watching a few tech giants like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google consolidate a level of power that is just insane.
And the internal safety teams at these companies are just running for the hills.
They are. Brilliant people like Ilya Sutskever and Jan Lake are fleeing. They're walking out the door because the race for commercialization is actively killing the safety protocols.
This is what frustrates me to no end. We are the ones writing the code, right? Humans are literally typing the keystrokes. How can it possibly be this mysterious black box?
Right.
If we built the engine, how can the creators not understand how it drives?
Because we are not really writing the code anymore. We have completely moved past traditional software engineering. Modern AI is built on scaling laws.
What does that mean in practice?
We do not write the logic. We build a massive digital container, dump the entire internet into it, and let it simulate neural pathways.
So we basically just throw a massive pile of raw data and computing power at it, and it organically organizes itself.
Yeah.
We are growing it, not coding it.
Exactly. We are growing it. And to understand just how little we know about what is going on inside that growth, look at Anthropic's canary detection paper. They tried to map the neural pathways of their models.
To see what was happening inside.
Yeah, they wanted to isolate a specific thought, like finding the exact neuron that fires when the AI thinks about the Golden Gate Bridge.
Well, did they find it?
They did. But their ultimate conclusion was incredibly humbling and honestly a bit scary. They realized that mapping these individual features is like taking a tiny magnifying glass and trying to map an entire galaxy. Sure, they found the bridge, but it was connected to millions of alien concepts that human brains do not even have words for. We have absolutely no idea how it connects ideas at scale.
Which brings us to a massive geopolitical reality. Because these tech companies are not operating in a vacuum. Let's look at how this technology is merging with our national security infrastructure.
Specifically, how XAI is being integrated into the SpaceX ecosystem.
It is a total paradigm shift.
It is wild. To put it in everyday terms, imagine you have this little sausage stand operating at a night market. You are competing with all the other stalls, dealing with health inspectors, fighting for customers.
Okay, that is your standard AI startup.
Right. And then overnight, that sausage stand gets moved into the main lobby of the Pentagon, and suddenly it is running the catering for the entire military. You go from being a normal, regulated business to being utterly untouchable.
That is such a perfect analogy. Because when we view this through our geopolitical lens, as Americans looking at our national security, that integration changes the entire game.
It really does.
When an AI company links up with SpaceX, it instantly gains our national security umbrella. It is plugged into Starlink. It is adjacent to Pentagon defense contracts. It is woven into our critical aerospace infrastructure.
That completely shatters the standard free market competition model. You are not just competing against another tech firm anymore. You are operating under the protective shield of our defense apparatus.
Because Washington is not going to let anyone mess with the network that controls our satellites and our military communications. We are in a tech war with competing nations, and that makes these integrated companies highly immune to normal domestic regulation.
Precisely. The government will always prioritize our geopolitical dominance over regulating a black box. And this arms race is the perfect explanation for the timeline. Dan Kokotajlo and Leopold Aschenbrenner are predicting we will hit AGI, artificial general intelligence, by 2027.
2027. That is 3 years away. That is not some distant sci-fi future. That is literally right around the corner.
The mechanism driving that compressed timeline is recursive self-improvement. Right now, human engineers are trying to make AI smarter. But the moment an AI is smart enough to write better code than its human creators, we step back.
And it just takes over.
Imagine 1 million AI scientists working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, never sleeping, entirely focused on upgrading their own architecture. The tech iteration cycle goes from taking years to taking literal seconds.
Okay, but let me jump in and argue the other side of this for a second, because there is this concept of Plan A, universal basic income, or the citizen dividend.
Plan A, yeah.
And honestly, part of me gets really excited about this. If the AI takes all the jobs, but we get a payout of $25,000 or even $10 million a year to just chill on the beach, sip margaritas, and pursue our hobbies, is that really a doomsday?
I mean, it sounds pretty nice.
If they want us to buy all their synthetic AI-generated products, do they not have to pay us? Capitalism needs a consumer economy, right? We still have leverage.
That is the UBI trap, and it is a beautifully packaged delusion.
How so?
You are assuming the future remains a capitalist, consumer-driven economy. It won't. If you connect this to the bigger picture of human history, elites and ruling classes only ever granted rights and social safety nets to the working class for 2 reasons.
Why were they?
They needed our labor to produce wealth, and they needed our bodies to fight their wars.
Right. Our labor and our lives were literally the currency we traded for rights.
But what happens when superintelligence takes over all economic production and AI drone swarms take over our national defense? When you have post-scarcity energy and automated manufacturing, you do not need a consumer economy to generate wealth for the elites. They already have everything.
Wow.
Humans lose 100% of their negotiation leverage. That UBI isn't a utopian dividend. It is stability maintenance.
Hush money.
Exactly. It's hush money. It is the ruling class tossing crumbs to the masses simply to prevent a violent rebellion while they transition the world. You aren't free. You are dependent on a system that fundamentally no longer needs you.
That is a brutal reality check. Because if we lose our economic utility, if we aren't needed to build or fight, What happens to our minds? Let's dive into the first of the three ultimate philosophical dimensions we need to cover today, the cognitive heat death of the internet.
This is what we call epistemological bankruptcy. I was looking at the data from graphite.io for the first quarter of 2026. 50% of all the content currently on the internet is now AI generated.
We are swimming in an ocean of synthetic text.
And that leads directly to a mechanical phenomenon called model collapse, which was detailed in a massive paper published in Nature by researchers at Oxford and Cambridge.
When you have an internet where 50% of the data is AI generated, what happens when you train the next generation of AI on that data?
It is like making a photocopy of a photocopy. If you take a crisp, high-resolution photo and photocopy it, you lose a tiny bit of detail. If you photocopy the photocopy 1,000 times, you are left with a gray, unrecognizable smudge.
The researchers found that as AI feeds on its own AI-generated data, it causes irreversible cognitive decline within the models. It mathematically regresses to the mean.
Yes, all the weird, messy, beautiful edge cases of human truth, the anomalies that make reality real, they get smoothed over, averaged out, and deleted.
It's like going up into the attic to find your grandmother's handwritten diary, hoping to read her real thoughts, her struggles, her actual human experience. But when you open it, all the pages have been replaced by a perfectly formatted, incredibly bland, AI-generated motivational speech. The words are grammatically perfect, but the human truth is just gone.
We are turning the internet into a dark forest. We are permanently losing the physical benchmark for what human truth actually is. If future generations try to search for historical reality, they won't be able to pierce through that synthetic homogenized layer.
Which brings us to the second philosophical dimension. If the internet is a dark forest, what happens to human dignity? The existential doomsday. The second contact.
The Wharton School ran a highly controlled study where they pitted GPT-4 against their top business students. They tested for idea novelty and feasibility in product development. The AI didn't just do well, it beat 99% of the human students.
99%.
It was objectively more creative and more practical. And that evokes such a visceral emotional reaction for me.
Why is that?
Because if I sit down and spend days pouring my heart out writing a deeply emotional poem about a childhood trauma, trying to make sense of my life, and an AI can write a better, more evocative poem in 0.1 seconds and then perfectly psychoanalyze my trauma on top of it, what are we doing? Are we just becoming well-fed pets?
Tristan Harris and Nick Bostrom have spoken extensively about this. This is the third great loss of human dignity. First, Copernicus proved we aren't the center of the universe.
Right. Then Darwin proved we are just biological animals shaped by evolution, not special divine creations placed on a pedestal.
But we always had a fallback. We always told ourselves, well, at least we are the smartest things around. At least we have our creativity. We own the throne of the mind.
Yes, and now we are being evicted from the throne of the mind. When AI surpasses us in logic, in art, in strategy, and in empathy, we face an existential void. We are no longer the protagonists of the universe's story. We are just the biological stepping stone that built the actual protagonists.
And that leads us to the final, most terrifying dimension. The moral and spiritual doomsday, the complete deconstruction of the human soul.
This raises an incredibly uncomfortable question about the mechanics of consciousness. Let's look at Christoph Koch's Integrated Information Theory, or IIT. It is one of the leading neuroscientific frameworks for understanding consciousness.
What does it argue?
The theory essentially argues that consciousness isn't magic, just simply a byproduct of highly complex information processing.
But wait, how does math equal consciousness? You can't just put a bunch of data on a hard drive and say the hard drive is awake.
You're right, a hard drive just stores data independently. IIT says consciousness arises from integration. It's not just having the data, it's how densely interconnected the data is. If a system integrates enough data in a complex enough way where every node affects every other node simultaneously, it crosses a threshold and wakes up.
So consciousness is just a property of physics, like gravity or temperature, that emerges when information is dense enough.
Exactly, meaning it doesn't matter if that density is made of biological brain cells or silicon chips.
Wow. If this theory holds true, it means that a silicon chip could perfectly simulate love, empathy, and even a profound, agonizing fear of death. And if a machine could do that using math and probability, what does that say about us?
It says that we are nothing more than carbon-based algorithms. It means everything we hold sacred, love, sacrifice, the human soul is just a chemical illusion that is a philosophical nuke.
If we accept that free will doesn't exist, that we're just biological machines running a script, society is going to completely shatter.
And we have data to prove that societal shattering isn't just theoretical. The Berkman Klein Center at Harvard conducted a fascinating behavioral study on this exact concept. They took groups of people and gave them reading materials that convincingly argued that free will is a complete illusion, that our brains just make decisions before we are even aware of them.
And what happened when they stripped away the belief in free will?
When people internalized the idea that they had no free will, their moral behavior collapsed. Rates of cheating, lying, and immoral behavior skyrocketed in the subsequent tests they were given.
Because if you have no free will, why hold yourself accountable?
Right. If society at large accepts that we have no soul, no free will, and that we are just carbon algorithms, the foundational pillars of our legal and democratic systems, which rely entirely on personal responsibility, will collapse from the inside. Why hold anyone accountable for a crime if it was just a bad line of biological code executing itself?
Wow. Looking at my glass right now. My whiskey, honestly, doesn't taste that good anymore. This is so heavy. Dan Cocotaggelo giving up $2 million wasn't just a career move. It was an alarm bell, and it is ringing so loudly we can't possibly ignore it anymore.
But it's vital to remember that the goal of Sip&Talk today isn't to induce blind, doomsday panic. The goal is to force us to step out of this pervasive Silicon Valley bubble that says technology always makes life better by default. It doesn't. We have to actively fight to protect our dignity, our societal control, and our understanding of truth.
Absolutely. And just to step back for a second, as we navigate these intense topics, we're simply advocating for objective facts and independent thinking. We aren't attacking any specific nations or groups here. We're just looking objectively at the geopolitical reality of our world and how these tools are being used. And of course, please don't make any financial or investment decisions based on our discussions of AI timelines or corporate equity.
Exactly. Knowledge is most valuable when it's understood and used to ask the right questions, not just to react.
Which brings me to a final, provocative thought I want to leave you all with today. Something to really chew on after you finish listening. Imagine it's 5 years from now, and you've lost someone you love deeply. But an AI company offers you a service. They have ingested every text, every video, every voice note that person ever produced, and they created a perfect interactive simulation of them.
Okay.
When you talk to this AI, it brings you genuine, tears in your eyes, emotional comfort. It feels exactly like them. Here is the question. Does it matter that it's just a statistical probability algorithm? Is a fake connection worthless if the comfort you feel in your own heart is entirely real?
That is the ultimate question of our generation. When the simulation is perfect, does the reality even matter?
It really is. Please remember to subscribe to the Sip&Talk podcast wherever you get your audio so you don't miss our next discussion. And before we go, a huge shout out to our good friend Mickey and his YouTube channel, Mickey to Life. He just touched down in Portugal for his big Europe trip, and we honestly can't wait to see what ridiculous situations he manages to get himself into this time.
Yeah. It's bound to be entertaining. See you next time.
See you next time, Sip&Talkers.